In a League of Their Own podcast is brought to you by Smooth My Balls. Are you sick of snagging your nuts or cutting yourself with a generic Bic razor or generic clipper? Well, now you don't have to worry. Smooth My Balls offers a 5-star below the belt care for men, starting with the Turf Chopper 3.0, the next level razor that provides a very smooth and clean finish with no cuts on your sack. And coming in for the closer, you got the Pube Muncher 1.0, a compact mini vac that cleans up the job with no hair left behind. Head over to smoothmyballs.com today and use code LEAGUE at checkout for 15% off your top of the line men's grooming kit. Again, that's LEAGUE, LEAGUE, for 15% off. Smooth My Balls, shave like a pro.
Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a leading supplement and nutrition company that provides everything from pre-workout and protein to recovery supplements. If you're looking for a healthy pick-me-up, Rep also offers Raise Energy, a zero sugar drink that helps with workout and recovery, mental focus as well. Head over to repsports.com today and use code LEAGUE for 15% off your order. That's LEAGUE for 15% off.
Golf kicks. Tired of wearing the same old boring golf shoes? Not the most comfortable? Now you don't have to worry. Customize all types of shoes, from Crocs to flip-flops, sneakers to boat shoes, and wear them in style while you rip it up on the course. Head over to golfkicks.com and use code OWN20 at checkout to get a 20% discount on your order. That's OWN20. Screw your shoes.
Streamer Loot. Want to rep the best up-and-coming sports podcast? Of course you do. Head over to streamerloot.co today and check out our first line of merch. We have t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, and stickers. Again, that is streamerloot.co to check out our merch. Hey, everybody, it's Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. Kevin Durant drops 49 in historical playoff game, and the U.S. Open kicks off tomorrow at Torrey Pines.
There goes that man's jockstrap. Oh my God, did you see that? America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports. There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for him. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
All right, again, everybody, welcome. It is Wednesday. Couple things to dive into the NFL. One thing that I'll just dive right into what we were talking about off the air just a couple minutes ago is Derek Carr said that he basically wants to be a Raider for life, says he has no plans to ever play anywhere else or never ever really wants to be traded. So I guess kind of the question around that is, do the Raiders grant him his wish, or do they eventually move on from him if they keep looking from the outside in on the playoffs like they have been the past couple of years?
Well, it's interesting to see which way John Gruden goes, because John Gruden seems to love Derek Carr as a quarterback and as a person. I think this is year 4 of his 10-year deal. And he hasn't really done anything spectacular besides basically just get rid of the whole entire offensive line this last season. So maybe that's a start, and he starts with that. And then obviously if things don't get better, then maybe he looks at the quarterback position next. I mean, who really knows? But as an organization on the outside looking in, you'd love to have a guy say that about being there, like especially when he has been your starter and he's not a bad quarterback. So, I mean, him wanting to be there, I mean, that's what you want in your player that is in the building being number one. Like, unlike what we got here in Green Bay, is you don't know anything. And you'd rather have Rodgers be like, I'd rather be a Packer, or I'd rather die, that type of thing. But yeah, interesting to see what happens here. I mean, he's kind of that perfect fit for Vegas. I really don't know who they would try to go get. Maybe Deshaun Watson. They try to. I don't know what happens. Yeah, there's going to be some vacancies coming up here, as quarterbacks are going to but this is Ben Roethlisberger's last year, so that's going to be an open position. The Washington job seems like that's going to be open for competition. Same with Denver for a while.
Miami potentially.
Carolina Panthers. Like, there's a handful of places that could use a quarterback. he is a veteran. Maybe he takes on the role of like Fitzmagic towards the end here on the back nine.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically as average as you can get for a quarterback. He doesn't do anything fantastic, but he doesn't like rarely do you see him completely fall apart and have like multi-interception games. He's just the epitome of the average quarterback in the NFL. So I mean, it's at that point where average doesn't cut it anymore if you want to make the playoffs. You can be an average team, be at 500 or just above 500 every year if you want. Cool, you have winning seasons, but you never make the playoffs. That's kind of the boat the Raiders have been in for a really long time. And you like before Gruden, they're even worse. But now that he stepped in, they kind of got him moving back in the right direction. And obviously, the move to Vegas seems like it's helped him too. But I mean, yeah, it's obviously good to have your QB1 say he wants to be on that team for life. But again, if the Raiders are just okay with mediocrity and are okay with missing on the playoffs and not really putting together a deep run year after year, I mean, I guess they ride it out with him until he retires or decides he wants out or whatever it might happen. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Gruden does if I mean, he's a gritty guy to where if he sees something wrong with the team, he doesn't think twice, you're out kind of person. So just like you said with the whole offensive line, he saw what was going on with them and just the lack of protection and all that, and boom, he cut all of them. So yeah, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Just like this next point that I'm going to bring up here. The NFL is starting to crack down a little bit more on the vaccination policies for pretty much it's a full go if you do have the vaccine, where Ron Rivera was quoted saying that, or excuse me, Mike Zimmer was quoted saying that the players who are unvaccinated face very tough times this season. Just jumping right over, Sam Darnold is the big headline right now of one of the guys who has refused to get the vaccine. And just kind of roughly, like when I read the article earlier, it mentioned in America, roughly 42% are fully vaccinated, and like 50% roughly have one shot. Where in the NFL right now, there's a guess that it's like 42% are. It's like the same thing. It's a microcosm of our country. Every business, every workplace, everything is a microcosm of the country, and it's just interesting to see if there's any leeway that kind of happens with if the numbers don't get worse, like, because you're seeing people who have been vaccinated now, like once we get there, Chris Paul, once we get there later, he's now the second athlete who's now been fully vaccinated and has gotten the virus. So does getting fully vaccinated and I'm good, that type of thing, and you're able to do whatever you want, I mean, is that health privacy stuff like that? Like, can you ask someone if they, like, can you just and not even have gotten the shot and just say that you got it? And I mean, there's so many. It's really interesting what's going to happen here because it seems like the NFL is making the biggest stink out of all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is people who have gotten vaccinated still can contract it and have it. It just, they don't really get symptoms, and like it's supposed to be 10 times better for them if they end up getting it or whatever. So, but at the same time, if everybody gets the vaccine and then people can still get it, it's never going to go away. So what's the point of the vaccine then? If you could still get it and give it to other people who haven't got it, because for instance, I haven't got it yet, and then some, like my wife has it, so if she gets it and then gives it to me, like what's the point of her getting vaccinated then? Or like, I don't know, like it's gonna be interesting that they're cracking down on basically having all these protocol in place for players who don't have it and basically lifting all of them for players who do have it, where I feel like there's going to be a huge uproar of cases from all the players who have the vaccine because they all can be in close proximity using all the same stuff because they don't need to worry, but yet they're still going to contract it and have it. And then they're going to, oh, you got to be out a week. Then what's the point of getting the vaccine if you're going to be out?
Yeah, that's what I thought with this whole thing too. It's like, why are they enforcing getting the vaccine so hard when you still have a positive test? You're still getting withdrawn from events or having to miss time. Just doesn't make sense. Usually when something doesn't make sense, somebody's getting rich. So
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Like, obviously, getting past that 50% mark is a good start to kind of.
But if they can still pass it on, I mean, what does
Yeah.
that number really mean? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is everybody like the vaccine comes out, everybody takes a big sigh of relief, and it's like, oh, it's going away. Oh, we hit 50%. Oh, it's going away even more. It's not though. Like, I. That's why I've been hesitant. Like this whole first wave of vaccines, everybody get your vaccine, get your vaccine. I'm like, I'll fucking wait 6 months to a year, so wait for them to fine tune it, and then I'll go and get one that's 100% effective. That I'm not going to contract it. I'm not going to give it to anybody else, and it's just gone. Like I'll wait for that point. I don't know.
Country doesn't want to wait because like some states are giving away guns, cars, joints, you name it. Go get the vaccine. We'll give you shit because they're trying to just get
looking around since I've moved, looking around for job searching, $500 signing bonus, $1,000 signing bonus if you're vaccinated. Like it's just weird how it's just such a money grab to like go out and get the vaccine. Well, it's just like it's not a money grab to where you have to pay for it, but like you said, somebody's getting rich the more these vaccines are getting distributed, and that's all it is right now. If they're not effective enough to stop people from getting it.
And then all those companies that probably have the $500 bonus if you have the vaccine probably are getting a kickback from all the money being made from the vaccine.
They're not just giving away that money unless they're benefiting from it in some way.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess, once the season comes, if they can fine tune stuff better and whatever. But couple more names to throw out there that's been kind of interesting this offseason is Dolphins All-Pro cornerback Xavier Howard is holding out for mandatory minicamp, looking for a contract negotiation, along with Seahawks safety Jamal Adams. So those two both joined Stephon Gilmore, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, kind of holding out, looking to get either traded / a better contract. So it's kind of just snowballing to where you see all these big name players trying to get leverage on some of these teams and some of these deals. Again, it is early. These are mandatory mini camps, and the teams are probably waiving the fines that these players are supposed to get, because otherwise, if they do administer them, the player would probably say, well, I want out then. So, but yeah, it seems like every day there's more players that are kind of getting added to this list of not showing up to camps and trying to get new contracts and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of cool to see Rodgers that got the ball rolling with us a couple months ago, and now you're seeing a lot more players get on board as well.
Yeah, I know the Jamal Adams things. That I know that he was looking for a new contract, but Pete Carroll came out and said that there was no disgruntled relationship between the team. They excused him for family matter, that he was excited to be to camp and excited to work and excited to get a new deal done and everything, but something happened with the family, so that he said that it was just a family issue is all he said to the media yesterday. So they said that they've been working all off season, getting closer and closer to a deal. So I'd imagine that's going to get wrapped up sometime shortly, as they don't want to see him go, and they traded basically their whole future for 4 years to get him. So
yeah,
that's something that they can't let go there. And then, yeah, one thing that I did hear about the Rodgers thing that you were talking about, that as far as like getting the ball rolling, some NFL exec was quoted in an article stating how they hope that Rodgers doesn't get his way in this situation, because then the NFL will turn into the NBA and it'll be a player-run league instead of an owner-run league. And it was interesting to think about that. being in the NFC, obviously you hope that Rodgers gets dealt out of the NFC. And then if you're in the AFC, obviously you're hoping that they reach a deal or he comes to your team. You don't want to see a guy like that, not get a contract and not be playing. And, like you'd rather just have to face him in the Super Bowl if you're going to play him again, that type of thing. So it's really getting interesting. I know people also made a big deal how he was wearing an I'm offended shirt on that interview thing. That's just one of his favorite YouTube stars. He wears a shirt like that all the time. So he was just showing support for one of his YouTube fans. I don't think it really was a play at anything. But yeah, every day that goes by, still yet again, the clock is leaning more towards an exit than an entrance, but we will see. Don't really want to talk too much about that because it gets annoying talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the last thing to talk about that, I guess, just kind of thinking about the new NFL season coming up, again, adding the 17th game. Do you think we're going to see some of these NFL records broken right in this first year? One that kind of sticks out to me that I could possibly see getting broken is a single season passing yards record, which Peyton Manning currently holds. It's 5,477 yards, which he has from 2013. I didn't realize he was that close. It's only 1 yard more than Drew Brees. He's literally 5,476, so 1 yard behind him. I guess two quarterbacks that have surpassed the 5,000 mark. Well, there's three of them that have, but one of them is probably not going to get there. Is Mahomes, Winston, and then Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger is probably not going to come close to that mark ever again. And then, but Mahomes and Winston are definitely two quarterbacks that are set up on an offense to where that could happen, especially with that extra game of the season to where you surpass the 5,000 mark week 17, going into week 18, you need a 400, 500 yard game passing, and you're there, if not less than that, depending on how your season goes. So that was just one that kind of jumped out at me as seeing that could be possibly broken year one of this extra game being added.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I know, rushing yards, receiving yards, those are also other ones right there. Fumbles, interceptions, all that stuff, touchdowns, all those are records that could be, those could be taken down just for the sheer numbers part. But it's going to be interesting to see if is it going to be a new, are they going to do a new record book, or is it going are they keeping it all the same? That's up, that's up to the NFL.
I feel like it's all going to stay the same. It's just going to probably have an asterisk next to it indicating
saying 17 game season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so that it's equally as impressive. Yes, you do have the advantage playing and starting next year with the extra game, but still, I don't think it should be a whole new record book because they're looking at adding an 18th game by 2025. So, and just with how much professional sports is changing, becoming more safe, becoming more entertaining, putting more games on the screen for people to watch, you're going to have to start new record books every other year if they're going to do it that way. So I think that they just keep it all one record book and just put that asterisk next to it or indicate in some way, shape, or form that, all right, this is this is what like the number 2 spot was a 16 game season. Number 1 is higher, but it is a 17 game season.
Well, looking back on it, reading, I just did some quick research here while you're talking. Looks like almost every single one of the single season records from the 14 game era has been erased pretty much by the 16 game era, except for 2. So I think those records are gone. I think they're just going to fall.
Yeah.
Which I guess is cool, but also that's unfortunate for like Vinatieri. I feel like all-time leader in points, and now you have guys with an extra game to catch him. Like I feel like that's like the top feat of like special teams.
But there's so much turnover with kickers nowadays in the NFL to where if you have one bad year,
That's why it's so impressive. It
yeah.
was even like that back then. You shake some kicks, you're gone. And he
Well,
just
yeah.
was a legend of the game. Who
Yeah.
the
I mean, I
leg,
could see
dude. So many
that's
clutch kicks.
that's when I could see maybe like 5,
It's like
10, 20
Crosby.
years down the road getting broken. Because Crosby is the closest and he's like 800-900 points behind still or something. He'd have to
But
still
now with an
play.
extra game, though, if you're getting 4 or 5 kicks, if you're making 4 field goals plus your team scores 4 touchdowns, you know what I mean? That's 16 points right there.
Yeah.
Just 1 week, and you do that for 17 weeks. Obviously, it's not going to average that way, but you could get a lot of fucking points, and
Yeah.
especially for kickers now too. If he just stays healthy, he could surpass that,
Mhm.
as long as he can still kick the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's got a long ways to go, but yeah, that extra game is going to help him close that gap faster for sure. But I don't know. I could see him holding it for at least a couple more years because I think Crosby's got to play 4 or 5 more years to catch that mark. I don't know how many points he averages a year, but it seems like it'd have to be at least 100 to 200 points a year. Maybe less than that even.
So, hold on a second. I just am looking at last year just to see roughly what it was. Quick here.
For how many points that Crosby had?
He had 107 points last year.
Okay. Yeah, and I think he was just short of 1,000 points away from breaking his record. So by that mark, it'd take him 9 years plus the extra game. So let's say 7 years, 6, 7 years if he equals or surpasses that mark. But yeah, I mean, one that's going to be tough is the rushing mark. I mean, Derrick Henry was close to it, but also look at the year he had to have just to even come within a couple hundred yards of beating that mark. So he'd basically have to equal what he did last year and then match a 150 yard game to come close to beating that rushing record. So that's going to be a tough one. I mean, Derrick Henry is right on the edge of it, so he's probably going to be the one to do it if somebody does do it soon. Nobody else is really a run first offense right now. Maybe Christian McCaffrey as well in Carolina, but if they're trying to rejuvenate Sam Darnold there, I don't know if McCaffrey's going to get enough rushes to come close to that mark unless Darnold's having a shitty year. So
yeah, I mean, do you think that he can do it again? Is the question. He's a big guy. That's a lot of wear and tear that he took last year.
mm-hmm.
Depends how good, how well he takes care of himself, and hope that he doesn't get injured, because one knee injury for a big boy like that could be the end.
Yeah. Plus the acquisition of Julio, that's gonna take
some touches out of his hands.
Yeah. So even though Julio came in and said he's not a stats guy, he's a team guy, he's still gonna get looks. Like, yeah. When you bring in a guy like that, everybody's getting less touches, no matter what. Whether you're a running back or another receiver, you're getting less touches.
He'll probably get between 3 to 15 probably looks a game. Except they don't need to throw the ball to him. If they can just hand it off, why would you throw it?
Yeah, exactly.
I said with the Patriots, I think that they're going to be a huge, heavy run team this season, and only throw it when they have to. It's going to be. I feel like it's going to be maybe history stats of how little a team's thrown the ball ever. I feel like they're just going to try to go back old school, because it's always a carousel. There's New school, old school, new school, old school. I feel like this is going to be the first trend going back to the running game where it's been pass the last.
We're looking at too, when Newton was in Carolina, that was a very run heavy team, and with the run they had, then again, kind of a similar offense to where he's got a couple stud running backs, James White, Sony Michel, and then obviously Newton can run the ball himself, a rejuvenated offensive line, some star tight ends that they went out and got. So
And
they're
they had a
setting the
superstar defense. Sorry to cut you off. That I feel like that team had that superstar defense.
Well,
Because
that's the
that's
thing
when
too.
Josh Norman was still there. Julius Peppers was in his prime. Luke Kuechly was in his they were stacked.
Well, and then with the Pats defense too, if they're holding teams to lower points, Pats go to get a couple touchdowns. You're not going to throw the ball. You're going to run it so you can kill the clock and go home. So that's a big thing too.
Yeah, it's interesting if Gilmore's going to be there or not. That's kind of I feel like a big question mark on if their team makes the playoffs or not, because if he's not there, that's a big spot to fill on the defensive end.
I think they'll be okay without him though. Like, it obviously they'd be better with him, but it's not like a Rodgers situation where the Packers are night and day better than without Rodgers. The Pats aren't going to be night and day better without Gilmore. Gilmore is going to give him some more pass deflects, a couple more interceptions. It's going to basically keep, I don't know, a handful of touchdowns off the board less than if they don't have him. But yeah, I mean, having a guy like that on your defense is good no matter what. So whether they keep him or not, or if he goes somewhere else, yeah, he'll be a good acquisition no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last thing that I have for football is Chicago Bears wide receiver Allen Robinson basically said that he wasn't 100% disappointed that he got franchise tagged. He's going to make $17 million this season. He was hoping that they could come to a long-term agreement before the season started so that they wouldn't have to use the tag on him. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And he said, basically, I just show up to work and I hope that I'm going to get paid someday, basically, is what he said. He's 27, so he's looking for one more big contract. I feel like this is a good move to do it. You know, when the money's down, if you have a great year this year, you could look to get paid big money at the end of the season if you stay healthy and do well. So best of luck to him and getting a good deal.
Yeah, like he's at that perfect age where he's 27. Next year will be 28. If he can get himself a 3 or 4 year deal, play until he's 31, 32, and then either hang it up or just do 1 year contracts from there out until he decides he wants to walk away. So, yeah, it's frustrating when you don't get a long term deal with a team you want to stay with, but at the same time, he's in the same boat along with 90% of the rest of the league. That's all on 1 year deals, franchise tags right now, waiting for that cap space to go back up next year, and I'm sure he'll get a payday next year.
Yeah, for sure. He's one of the up and coming receivers, and it depends how, who's their quarterback and how good their quarterbacks do this season. He could have a big season if Justin Fields is slinging the rock to him. I feel like he could take off and become solidified as one of the top wide receivers in the league. And then I did mess up. I do have one more thing on the NFL. It's been a while since we've mentioned someone fucking up, getting in trouble off the field or past when their career's been over. Former NFL and University of Wisconsin football player Thomas Burke has been accused of sexually assaulting a child. He's 44, Rice Lake, Wisconsin. He's held in St. Louis County Jail in Minnesota. He's been extradited there. Played defensive end for the Arizona Cardinals from 1999 to 2002. He was inducted in the University of Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame last year. He played for the Badgers from 95 to 98, and he has a Big Ten record for most sacks in a single season, which still stands 22. So unfortunate. Hopefully this isn't true, but if it is, hopefully you're punished to the full extent of the law. And yeah, hopefully this little child can grew up to live a normal life.
Yeah, it always sucks when stuff like that happens for both sides. I mean, yeah, it's been a while since somebody's fucked up that we've talked about. So I saw that. I forgot to jot that one down, but yeah. Anyway, so jumping over to the NBA here, then. I guess get the pain out of the way right away. Bucks blow 17-point lead last night and drop game 5 to the Nets. 114 to 108. Kevin Durant drops 49 points and becomes the first player in the NBA history to have a 45, 15, 10 stat line in the playoffs. Also played all 48 minutes last night. Only time he got rest was timeouts and media timeout. So and it seemed like he kicked things in gear end of the third quarter and all the way through the fourth. No matter who I was gonna say Packers, no matter who the Bucks had on him, they just couldn't stop him. They were double teaming him and having good looks through the first half and had him less than 20 points in the first half. And then the Bucks again, bad coaching, whatever it is, they just instead of going double teams and isolation on good matchups and playing zone D, they went one-on-one with him, and by the time it was too late, they couldn't adjust, and that was all she wrote at the end there. So yeah, I mean, court switches back to Milwaukee tomorrow night, so I definitely see the series going 7, going back into Brooklyn. The Bucks are going to have to equal what they did last night to have a chance in Brooklyn if it does go to game 7. But they're going to have to stick to their game plan and keep doing what they're doing. For whatever reason, they're just sandbagged the second half. They had like a 13 or 14 point lead going into halftime, came out, put it up to a 17-point lead. And at that point, the Nets just chipped away. And basically with, I think it was like 5-6 minutes left, the Nets took the lead. It was a little bit of back and forth, and the Nets held it from there on out. So, yeah, I mean, Harden was back on the floor, though he didn't contribute much. He basically played the whole game as well, I think. Like 40 some minutes that he was on the court. He only had a handful of points. He was like,
I could have did what James Harden did last night.
Yeah. Well, are you going to go 40 minutes on the court though?
Did you see him? He walked basically 90% of it.
Yeah.
Like he really didn't do anything. I feel like if anything, because he was asked like why he played, and he said he woke up and felt like he had to play. And that's just, I just feel like that's part of just the feeling of him being on the court. That wavelength that him and Kevin Durant have as they've been in the league together from OKC. I just feel like it gives Kevin just a little bit more of support, I guess, just the feeling of support where if I can't do it, I'll have you to help me type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what it was last night. He got a lot of help. Green went off. He had 27 points. It was very impressive to watch him. That was the best basketball performance I've ever seen in my life. It was just incredible. Now the question is, can he do it again? Because he's going to have to do it again
Twice.
if not 2 more times.
Yeah.
Just to get it done. And Giannis, Defensive Player of the Year, you got to guard Kevin Durant. You got to take the challenge one-on-one. When you saw him heating up, you should say, I got him, instead of letting your team just get manhandled and then after the game saying, oh, he's the best player in the world. I hope he misses. And it's just like, why aren't you in his face making a miss? Like,
yeah.
Come on, man. Like, and then he's trying all these fadeaway shots, and it's just like, take it to the rim. And then the one part that really irritated me was he had James Harden in a one-on-one late in the game. Harden's basically playing on one leg, and he chooses to do a fadeaway shot when he just could have went right at him and got the foul, and the Bucks would have been tied the game. I think he fears the free throws, and he's scared to take those chances to go for it because he knows he's going to be on the line. So he'd rather shy away from that and do something else, like try to make a shot instead of the and one. I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like he disappears. Like not completely because he still led the Bucks in points and rebounds. The whole team played well outside of Pete Tucker, who had 0 points, which over 6 that doesn't help you. But like, man, they got it. Coaching, I feel like, is the biggest thing, and we talked about this last night after the game was over. You don't go from dominating down low. You have the size that Brooklyn doesn't have. You have 2 huge guys in Lopez and Giannis down low. They only have one in Harris, and he's gonna have to pick one. KD sure as hell ain't coming down there to play defense down in the paint. That's not his style. And you have a height mismatch, and the Bucks went to that the whole first half up till the 17 point, and then all of a sudden they got back to shooting ridiculous 3-pointers. Just I don't know. I feel like maybe they felt like they had the game and they just took their foot off the gas just for all it takes is they lost by 6. So 2 shots, 2 3-pointers when the Nets were nailing those threes. They let it off for just too long and couldn't catch back up. I mean, it's unfortunate to see, but yeah, hell of a performance, KD. And then I don't know if you want to get into it. Did you get the LeBron quote about what he said about?
No, I didn't. I saw what he said about appreciate greatness while you got it and stuff like that, but I didn't.
Oh, I was talking today about like players being hurt.
Oh
in
no.
the playoffs. Yeah, this is the first time in the in the history of the NBA. There's 9 all-stars that are out of the playoffs. This is the first time ever. And LeBron basically said, I want to try to find it. I thought I screenshot it. Oh, right here. He goes, this is all quoting LeBron because I'll just quote it. I'll just read it quick. They didn't want to listen to me about the start of the season. I knew exactly what would happen. I only wanted to protect the well-being of the players, which is ultimately the product and the benefit of our game. These injuries aren't just part of the game. It's a lack of pure rest before starting back up. 8, possibly 9 all-stars have missed playoff games, most in league history. This is the best time of the league, or this is the best time of the year for our league and fans, but missing a ton of our favorite players, it's insane. If there's one person that knows about taking care of the body and how it works all year round, it's me. I speak for the health of all of our players, and I hate to see this many injuries this time of year. Sorry, fans. Wish you guys were seeing all of your favorite players right now. And that's just a shot. Basically, and that's exactly what's happening. I feel like maybe they did come back a little too soon. And whoever wins the title this year, it's going to be who's able to stay healthiest the longest, basically, at this point. Every team's had their injuries and woes this season. And basically, it's going to be who's the healthiest at the end is what it seems like here. And Suns are losing Paul, Clippers are losing Kawhi. I mean, this playoffs is turning into kind of like a ruckus here. The Jazz are missing Conley. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, like with the whole injury thing, it sucks that it's happening. And again, it all comes back to not having a true off season, trying to basically go back to back seasons of the finals ending and then a month or two later starting the season back up. So, I mean, they're back on the right schedule. Otherwise, they would never have got back to it. So at least next year they should be back. I mean, NBA finals are going to be happening here shortly, about the same time as they usually do. Usually they're about wrapped up right now, so they're only a couple weeks off. But then they should get the season back underway come October and have a normal season again. So, yeah, it sucks the last 2 years, kind of how things have went down. But, I mean, hopefully they learn from it in some way to make sure that these players are getting the correct off season to be able to rest.
Yeah, that's just all I think it is too. It's just they just need to figure out how much time they need, and I feel like maybe that extra 2 weeks, maybe that was is that the difference? We shall see.
Yeah. And then a couple other points. Well, I guess reiterating back to what you said about Chris Paul being out indefinitely. He's in COVID protocol. He's going to be out 6 to 14 days, depending on testing and tracing, how that whole thing goes. Again, he is vaccinated, so he does have that on his side, as opposed to being unvaccinated, to where he'd be basically slated for that 14 to 17 day mark before he'd come back. So, potentially going to be out for game 1 of the finals. He could be out, or of the Western Conference finals. He could be out the first couple games. It all really depends. I mean, I guess, it kind of sucks that he's going to be out, but at the same time, he did have that shoulder injury earlier in the playoffs against the Lakers. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise, and it gives him time to fully come back and heal from that if he's not already fully back from it. I mean, from his last outing when they swept the Nuggets, he looked completely fine, but also you don't know what's going on inside if he's just gritting his teeth and fighting through the pain the whole time. And then 2 games going on tonight. Kind of, again, throwing a wrench into things. We thought that the 76ers and Jazz were going to take a 3-1 series lead in both of these. The Hawks and Clippers both got it done game 4, so the series is tied 2-2 for both of those. The games are in Philly and Utah tonight, so both of the higher seeded teams there will try to look to take 3-2 advantage. Again, the Clippers are without Kawhi. I think the Clippers are done. They've basically been barely sticking with it this far into the playoffs. Again, barely beating the Mavs, sneaking out a couple games against the Jazz, and then you lose a guy like Kawhi. I don't know. If they get blown out tonight in Utah, it's probably going to be over in 6 for them. And then kind of on the flip side, Ice Tray has got to show up again tonight if the Hawks are going to have a chance to keep up with the 76ers. So we'll see what happens there with those 2 series. Again, we expected the 76ers and Jazz to run away with both of those series, and Hawks and Clippers have stuck with them. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, the Jazz have the best home record in basketball. They were like 34 or 35-1 this season. If Clippers have to steal tonight, they got to get buckets from everyone. They got to come together as a team and win without Kawhi. But yeah, if the Clippers don't win tonight, I don't see them. Even if they win game 6, I don't see them winning game 7. I don't see them stealing 2 in Utah against the best team in basketball this season, record-wise and home record-wise. That fan base, that arena goes wild. That's a tough place to play. And yeah, I'm not looking good for the Clippers, but like you said, if they steal tonight, then they got a shot.
Yeah. Any other NBA points to throw out there?
No, that's it.
All right. I'm going to switch over to the MLB here. The Brewers, they get swept the last 3 games against the Reds. They had a 2-1 final today. They only sit a half game back from first in the NL Central still, so they're still right there. They start a weekend series tomorrow with the Rockies in Denver. The Padres, who have been a hot team, have lost 8 of their last 10 games. I think they were playing the Rockies. They had a series against them, and they were finishing up this afternoon as well. Seeing what the final was on that one. Top of the 9th, 7-7, tied on that one. So it could go either way. But yeah, the Padres have been struggling as of late. Again, still right there in the NL West with the Giants and Dodgers. But again, the Giants and Dodgers get hot. Well, any of those two, if 2 teams get hot and your team's struggling, they're going to run away with it, and you're going to struggle to catch back up. And then the Diamondbacks, they have lost 21 straight road games, and they blew a 7-run lead in San Francisco yesterday against the Giants. So Diamondbacks are one of those teams that really can't get anything to go their way this year. And then the last point to mention, the MLB is officially cracking down on pitchers being caught using foreign substances on balls. I mean, they kind of had an eye on it for really years now, but now they're kind of putting some stuff in place to scare the players a little more and try to get them not to use it. Starting next Monday, pitchers will be ejected if caught with it and suspended for 10 games. So that's
with pay.
Oh, with pay? Well, that's fucking stupid then.
I know. I saw that when I read that. I was like the headline made it seem good, and then I clicked on it and read it, and then they get paid. The first time they get paid. After that, then they start taking their money away. So it's like you can do it up until you get caught.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, that's dumb. I mean, either way, it's still nice that they're kind of putting stuff in place and cracking down on it more. But at the same time, like, go all in on it. Like, you're still gonna have guys doing it if you're basically giving them a slap on the wrist. Because I mean, 10 games is
nothing.
Not a lot because you're only missing.
Unless it's games that you were scheduled to start as a pitcher, then that could be detrimental.
Then you're going to be out.
You could be out 30, 40 games. Yeah.
I guess I don't know how they're doing it, but yeah, if it's just 10 scheduled games for the team, you're only missing 1 or 2 starts then.
Yeah, you're missing like a week and a half, probably 2 weeks. Where if it's 10 starts that you were supposed to start, that's every like 5 days. So that's 50 days.
Yeah.
Month and a half. Yeah, but you get paid the whole time too. So that part doesn't make sense. I feel like if they're gonna keep it that way, obviously that's just the way that it came out now, is that it's with pay. Obviously that stuff could change. But like if it doesn't, I feel like strike 2 should be a severe extreme punishment if you are getting paid for that first strike.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1 should be 10 games, 2 should be like 80 games. It should be 80 games, no pay, half the season gone.
Yeah, or start administering fines, but at the same time, baseball players are some of the most wealthy professional athletes, so you'd have to make those some pretty hefty fines if you actually want to make a difference with that. But yeah, that's all that's going on over in the MLB.
Yeah, then I'm just going to jump into hockey real quick here. Jason Spezza, Toronto Maple Leaf, one of the older guys in the league. He re-signs on a 1-year deal, looking to come back. Signs the NHL minimum, hoping that Toronto Maple Leafs don't see an early exit in round 1 come next season. So that's going to be interesting. And then game last night, Tampa takes down the Islanders 4-2 in game 2. It was an interesting game. There were 2 goals that were scored when both teams had 6 players on the ice. That was interesting to see how there was no extra man called, but 2 goals were both called and allowed. So NHL refs are slipping a little bit here. Granted, it happens in the game when it's so fast and whatnot, people don't see it. It's just part of the game, which both coaches stated afterwards how he was happy that they didn't get the power play. Like he was happy that both they fucked up twice and it evened itself out, and that's just the way that it works in the NHL. So no real hate from there. Teams were battling on the ice. Things were getting chippy. There were like 3 fights that were trying to take place. The refs got in between, separated them. I believe 2 ended up happening last night. But this series is heating up as they're heading back to Long Island at the Nassau Coliseum. It's going to be interesting to see what Tampa brings, because that barn is going to be rocking and they're going to be ready. So that should be fun to watch this weekend. And then tonight you have game 2, Montreal, Vegas Golden Knights. Montreal needs this one. But what is pretty cool is this, the Providence of Montreal, Quebec, I should say. The Providence, Quebec has opened full stadiums for the Montreal Canadiens when they go back home. That was early reports that I read. So if it was a lie, I'm sorry, and I apologize to the people, but that's what I read, is that they made an exception so that they can have a full barn like Vegas has to even the atmosphere of fans, because there's only 3,000 fans allowed from Montreal into Vegas' stadium, and you have like 18,000 Vegas fans. You're outnumbered pretty heavy, so they're hoping that they get that advantage with the crowd back home. So that's kind of awesome that they did that on the fly. I hope that's true. I'd love to see them have a full barn, as they're the hockey mecca of Canada. That's Quebec, the original 6. So it's pretty cool there. And That's really all I got in the NHL. Cole Caulfield scored game 1. I mean, that's pretty cool. Other than that, yeah, that's all I got for hockey here. I did have one thing on golf. Green books are being banned going forward. So players are no longer able to carry the green books that they have in their pocket, which tells them the direction of the elevation and all of that of the greens. Rory McIlroy is
I
the
mean, one of
lead.
these.
Yep, one of those. One of the presidents of like the players for the PGA, and basically his whole staff was upset that he would have to learn how to like re-putt and stuff too, but also it's a skill to learn how to read a green with your own eyes and learn which way the ball curves, all that stuff. You'll still be able to in your practice rounds, you'll still be able to have a booklet. If you want to take your own notes on like which way the ball is going to move on certain parts yourself, if you want to go out there and hit 50 putts from all different angles just so you can see which way it moves, you are allowed to do that. But yeah, no longer are you able to purchase the green books for these courses. So that's going to be very interesting, and I feel like that's going to be really cool going forward here. Some of these guys who are master putters from using that green book might have some trouble now. So you're really going to get to see who the best putters are now without using that extra information. I wouldn't say advantage, but it's just a little extra information.
Cool.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, well then that kind of wraps things up today here. Again, as I mentioned on Monday's episode, the Madden cover is going to be released tomorrow morning. So on Friday's episode, we'll be diving into that. And then also we have a bonus episode coming out for you guys next week. Yesterday we did an interview. We're affiliated with the Stadium Scene sports network. They have basically a network of other podcasts. They have their own podcasts as well that they do. Feel free to go check us out on there, as well as some the other podcasts they do. Again, at Stadium Scene TV, I think is the actual name of their website. Yeah, we sat down with DJ yesterday, kind of did a get to know us episode, diving into a couple points on basically what we're about and stuff like that. And we'll be releasing that next Thursday. They're releasing their side of things next Wednesday, so we're gonna wait to release it on our end until they release it as well. So yeah, be looking out for that next week.
Yeah, and then a piece of breaking news here. The New York Rangers have officially hired Gerard Gallant as the 36th coach in team history. So congratulations to New York Rangers. Hopefully he turns that. You guys have a lot of young guys on your team who could be very, very good. So let's see what you can do with them. And yeah, shout out New York. That's a great hire.
For sure.
And then yeah, I mean, big event coming up next month. You got McGregor Poirier 3. That should be interesting to see. That's July 10th. Yeah, that's kind of the big one coming up here. World Cup will be getting underway soon. All these qualifiers are coming to an end here, so that'll be fun to watch. And then you also have the Olympics next month. Next month is going to be pretty crazy. We're going to have the finals, Stanley Cup finals, NBA finals, the Olympics. Oh, it's going to be a long month.
Yeah. And then right as soon as it ends, then the NFL starts back up.
Yeah, pretty close.
So yeah.
But yeah, thank you everyone for stopping by. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Go to our YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. You can also go to Google, type in a League of Their Own podcast. You should be able to find us that way. Don't forget to stop by our merch. Stop by, get a sticker, mug, shirt, and a hat. I don't know why I said hurt. Yeah, you can get out one of those and rock in a League of Their Own. Help spread the word, share the logo. And yeah, we will be back on Friday. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, anywhere affiliated with that. Don't forget to click the 5 stars, and you can put any reason you want to. Helps drive us up the charts for whatever reason. That's just the algorithm that they use. So we really appreciate everybody and anybody doing that. And yeah, we hope everybody has a great hump day, and we will be back on Friday.
See you guys on Friday.